everyone? It's Killshot from 999 Gaming. This is our coverage of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, episode number 4. And before we get started, I got to apologize to all of you guys. We have been wanting to cover this week in and week out. I will make some announcements a little bit later on tonight, but hopefully you guys accept my apology. When we start doing the coverage of The Walking Dead, we just want to be very consistent. And that's why we've done it a week, and then we've taken a couple weeks off. But we've got a couple things in the works that I'll go over our website where we can kind of bring everybody together. But we are going to try to be more consistent from this week going forward to cover The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, and all things Walking Dead in addition to our game. So you guys pretty excited about tonight's episode? Plus, you have the ability to watch this early, so it is tough for us to do our bold predictions and to cover it when there's a lot of people that know what happens in advance. But that's why we do it on Sunday night. So you guys, do we want to start out? I'm going to disappoint. I'm going to disappoint tonight. So let's start out doing what we always do. Give me your rating of tonight's episode right here in chat. I want to see how high you guys scored it, because I know there's going to be some high scores. Oh, okay. Westwood, Jesus, Corey, we got some 7.5s, we got some 8s. Okay. Then it's not going to be a rough crowd. It's not going to be a rough crowd then, because I'm not giving it a 10. I'm not giving it a 10. I know I got messages all week long about how phenomenal tonight's episode was. I'm not going to dog the episode. I love The Walking Dead. But do I think it was a perfect episode? No, I don't. Do I think it was a very good episode? Of course. This whole season has been really good. But I'll go through some of my thoughts on it, and then we'll compare notes once again. How about that? So, as Corey said, I hate Rick being so stubborn. I understand where he's coming from, but wake up. Okay, we're going to start with that. We're going to dive right into it. Rick has been through 8 years worth of trauma. So with 8 years worth of trauma, we understand it. These are not the things, though, that are easily articulated on a TV show, right? We want Rick to snap out of it. We want him like, dude, this is your family. Listen. And as easy it is for us to say that, I agree, true spoken. It's like what he's been through, we get it. However, here's the problem. And if you guys saw the spoiler for next week, I don't want to go down the road of Maggie and Negan Part 2. Now, you guys are probably like, what do you mean by that? At first, we understand it. But it already looks like the storyline this season is going to be when Rick wants to push that button. Well, he can't push it now, things broken. But whether or not Rick wants to go back. And it is this battle between Rick and Michonne of who emotionally is going to give up first. And both have been through this. Now, True Spoken says, cut Rick some slack. He has PTSD. Well, so should Michonne too. I mean, Michonne was tortured when she was 7 months pregnant, and she found Rick. So we can't just cut Rick slack without saying, well, look at this drive that Michonne has. We expect Michonne to be more driven, and Rick is the one who thinks he's keeping everybody safe. Now, that's not why I'm not giving it a 10. I'm not giving it a 10 because Rick cannot keep them safe. When Rick is for the most part, he's been a nobody. Jadis, maybe. But how does Rick know that Okafor just hasn't blasted them a year or 2 years or 3 years prior? I mean, he doesn't. So we make the assumption, right? I mean, Jadis is kind of like, hey, pull some strings. But what Rick said, and he told Michonne this, right? He stopped seeing Carl, so he gave up. And then he felt like he lost Michonne. So he can't live with losing her again, so he wants her to kind of go away, and he wants the memory of her to live. Westwood's, I bet that's Eastman's cabin. Enter Morgan, you know? Bring Morgan back. So I'm going to give you my score, and then we'll talk about it. So my score in tonight's episode is an 8.7. I thought it was very good. I didn't think it was one of the best that I've ever seen. It had good moments of Rick and Michonne rebuilding. Now, how much, let me ask you guys this question. It's not. No, it's not bad. I mean, I enjoyed it, right? I mean, I'm not going to come out here and say I thought it was a bad episode. But here's the other thing that kept me from giving it a 9. This episode was eerily similar to the episode where they were in the amusement park. Remember? You guys remember that? When they were driving out and they were scavenging. This, to me, was a reboot of that episode. So I felt like we've been here before. And I got a lot of messages this week about people that really loved it. So I also thought it had some Fear the Walking Dead conveniences, right? It's a TV show. Now, these are probably parts of a movie. But, and I'm not trying to nitpick here, but even those of y'all that are really diehard saying that this is a 10, it's a little coincidental. She grabs him. They fall out of a helicopter, live. The helicopter crashes into the building that is literally right next to where they happen to be set up. And then you look out the window and it's like, hey, that's our helicopter. We could have died. The chandelier falls on her leg. Didn't break anything. 5 minutes later, they're up and fighting. Just say it. Just say it. So I thought it was a good episode. So, right? All right. So let me throw it to you guys, because I'd love to get you guys included in this. You know, somebody's going to watch the playback and say, it is. It's a TV show, of course. But if you can make the argument it's a TV show, Home and Decor, you can also make the argument and say, okay, well, why are we cutting Rick slack because he has PTSD? I mean, it kind of works both ways. If you're going to, you know, give support in one way and say, okay, well, we're going to treat it like he's a real person, then you kind of got to treat it all the way through. It's kind of hard to pick and choose and say, well, we're going to be serious about this aspect of it, but not take this part of it seriously. and and Rick can't drive. You know, that might be the biggest thing, Westwood. He can fly a helicopter. He learned to shoot after all these years, and he still can't drive a stick shift. All right. Tonight's episode. What did you enjoy the most about tonight's episode? What part of tonight's episode really, really was amazing for you? Kenneth, I agree with that. You know, I think we're torn with that, right? He feels like he's got a purpose and he can make a difference, but he's scared. It boils down to fear, I think. So finding out about RJ, kind of truth. What I found interesting, not just when he found out about RJ, is what Michonne said. Like, you didn't even ask about your son. He almost didn't want to get to know RJ, right? Like he was emotionally blocking that out. Rick being freaked out by a Roomba. You know, I'm just wondering how many people are going to go back and see at what year the Roomba was invented and try to tie that into, should Rick have known what a Roomba was? Yep. Um, Amazing how the walls broke down and he broke down while the walls were breaking down. So to me, I think that's what. So as I see some of the answers pop up, I think that's what really made it a good episode for a lot of people. It was the emotional connection of seeing Rick go full circle. I'll give you that. I'm not going to, you know, who am I to take the emotion of The Walking Dead away from anybody? But let me ask this question, okay? Give me a 999 if you guys will give me your open and honest feedback. I need honesty. I can't ask this question if you guys can't be straight up with me. It's important. All right. Okay, looks like we got some buy-in here. All right, so that's good. If Morgan and Madison had this much dialogue, how many of y'all would have turned the TV off after 15 minutes? So my point to this is, I think we tolerated a lot because it was Rick and Michonne. That's what I felt like there was a little too much. That's going to be the narrative. That we're really trying to peel back the layers of the onion to make Rick right again. That we're getting into the psyche of Rick Grimes. And I hope quickly we get to a resolution. that it's not this underlying theme that this is going to be what we do on a regular basis. I need them to go, rebuild, get their numbers up, find a way to take out the CRM with low numbers and no technology. All right. So here's the question that I have for y'all. If I gave each of you the opportunity, okay? Let's say today you had the opportunity to go spend a couple of years at least happy with your family together. Or you could go being part of a military operation that could indiscriminately just kill people, and you're a low pawn trying to work your way up that may or may not stop them. Which would you choose? You going to go be with the person that spent 8 years trying to find you? Are you going to go spend a few moments with your family? Or are you going to hope that you get a promotion? Hope. Because another answer to the question, Beal doesn't trust him. So you already got Jadis knows the truth. Beal doesn't trust him. Pearl was going to kill Michonne. What is Rick going to do? It seems to me like there's 3 people that have control over him already. His best bet might be to get away. And I mean, I don't want to get too far into the psychology of the writers. But how many people genuinely think Rick is suffering from PTSD? Right? That you kind of felt that, right? Would you guys agree with that? That seemed to be what he's going through and what the writers wanted us to think or feel? It seemed to be like the serious topic of tonight. What I thought was a little odd, if that's the direction that the writers wanted us to go, I was a little surprised that there wasn't like the public service attachment at the end of it, right? Because normally when The Walking Dead touches on something like suicide, or depression, they'll put like a little blurb at the end of it and say, if you or someone you know is suffering from this. I thought it was interesting that they didn't do that. I don't know, just kind of struck me as a bit odd. Because it was such a serious theme for tonight, in my opinion. And it does look like it's going to be a serious theme going forward. So that's a good question. That's a good question. Um, the answer is, has Andrew Lincoln been amazing this season? I would say yes. Was tonight his Emmy performance? I don't know. I don't. I felt like some of it was great, and I felt like some of it got drowned in. I don't think so. To me, I thought he was better in the first couple episodes. Tonight, I mean, there was so much spotlight on it tonight. At times, it felt like a Korean drama. The back and forth between the two of them was good chemistry. I don't know. It'll be interesting to me to see what the dialogue is this week. Some of you that gave it, I thought so too. Westwood, I thought the first one was much better than tonight. So let me ask this question, and they're fair questions. Some of you that scored it below a 9, what are your thoughts about tonight's, specifically to Andrew Lincoln? Good, great, outstanding, or expected? I mean, and let me put this. I think Andrew Lincoln's an incredible actor. But do I think that tonight was at a different level of what I normally see with Andrew Lincoln? I don't. I think he always nails the part in anything he does. I think he's incredible. So to me, I didn't see tonight's episode as something that just raised the bar of who he is and what he does. No, I think the point is fair. I watched it as if it was a love story. I mean, I'm right there. I didn't cry. I thought Denai did an incredible job too. I didn't see his role tonight as any better than her role either. And I guess that's kind of my point. I guess I didn't see Andrew Lincoln as like, oh, he was so far above the rest of the cast tonight. I thought it was good, but not the best I've ever seen him act. I thought it was good Andrew Lincoln. But again, I mean, that's my thought. It doesn't mean that, he's not going to move the needle for different people. But what I'm saying is, for the amount of people that thought it was a 10 and cried, there's probably the same number of people that thought it was good, and then the same number of people that thought it was maybe lacking. And that's, it's kind of what we want to do, is we want to break it down to see the pulse of what it was. I mean, everybody's thoughts, you can read some of the comments. Everybody's kind of, especially with these type of episodes, everybody's got a different feel or a different expectation. Maybe. Truth, I think it's too early for me to make that assessment, because I have to see the next episode to understand what his mental state is. I just know the part the part that I enjoyed, I guess, the most of his mental state was the flashbacks of Carl when he said they took Carl away from me. So that I could relate to. The rest of it, it's kind of like I got to pause for a little bit and see what do they do with this story. To me, this is one of those things that in 2 weeks, I might look back on this episode and say, wow, it's better because of how they tied it together. And that's what's really tough about it. But if there was part of it that I enjoyed, it was that part. And, as I said before, it was the part of not wanting to know who RJ is. So those two things, like, I can't take this right now. Don't tell me about RJ because then I'm going to want to leave with you. And then it's like, tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's wrong. Something about that exchange just didn't feel right. Now, all right, I'll give you one more because, the more we talk about it, I see some of the point. To me, the part that stood out the most of the entire episode, there's one part, and that was when she stopped in the hall and he stopped at the door and she walked away and he opened the door. So to me, that demonstrated his confusion. Now, not good, doesn't have to be good acting there. And see, that's where I'm trying to sort of decide, was it the acting or was it the part? Because that part was both of them. And he didn't really do anything except open the door. But I thought it was well written. And I'm not saying he could have done anything more. I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying that part of it stuck out to me, and it had nothing to do with how good somebody was in the moment or in their role. I just thought that part was very, very well written. So that stood out to me. So here's another thing that I'm trying to think through to see if it makes sense because he didn't push the button. But they didn't seem to be looking for any survivors. CRM made the assumption that everybody was dead. They didn't bring it like before. Their one helicopter got shot down, and then when they radio, it's like, okay, they got people there. With this one, they found it, and it's not like ground troops and let's look around for them. And, are they going to find his truck? Just a few unanswered questions that I hope we kind of get back to. I guess the other thing, as somebody that loves to talk about the show, there's not really a lot to talk about. It's like, hey, what'd you think about that kiss? What'd you think about that Roomba? I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of action in tonight's episode. Well, there was some action. There was some, yeah. All right, so I got a question for you guys. If everybody here watched tonight's episode, How many of y'all would go pay $15 now that you've seen it and go sit at AMC Theater and watch tonight's episode in a theater with other people? Let me know. No, I'm not talking about would have. I'm talking about now that you've seen it. Like, you know, if you saw Die Hard and then you're like, hey, Die Hard's really, really good, I'm going to go see Die Hard again and again and again and again. So tonight's episode, how many people would go to the movie theater, sit down, grab your popcorn, and sit there for an hour and a half or so and watch tonight's episode on the big screen? I mean, I'm just curious. With a box of tissues. Get the popcorn and leave. In the back row, so nobody can see you. All right. Okay. How many of y'all cried when you saw 101 Dalmatians? How about that? I keep hearing a lot of people cried with tonight's episode. So give me some other movies that you cried. That I gotta test the temperature here because I think you guys are just bawling about everything. Like Titanic, I might have cried in Titanic. Maybe. I don't remember, but I might have. Tonight was not. I didn't cry tonight. I didn't even get a lump in my throat tonight. But I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong if you did. War. you guys are funny. Well, I mean, we need to break the ice a little bit. So no, I'm not going to change. I thought the episode was somewhere high 8s, maybe almost a 9. There's 4 episodes. I thought tonight was the 3rd best episode. I thought the first one was the best, the second one, and then I thought this one was better than last week. That was kind of my stack ranking. The first one was number 1, the second one was number 2, tonight was number 3, and last week was number 4. Wait. Yeah. I might flip-flop 2 and 3. But you get the idea. You know, Westwood, that is a good point. I think dialogue heavy in The Walking Dead. Now, every once in a while it's okay. Not Fear the Walking Dead type of dialogue because they certainly beat that to death. But tonight I thought today had a good mix. So I don't think it was the dialogue heavy that felt a little weird. I think it was the redundancy of the dialogue. And I don't know whether I like that or I don't like it yet because I have to see more. It's almost as if we got a condensed version of what's going on with Rick, so I can't make a decision on that yet. So maybe if I watched tonight's episode and then next week and next week, like all together in 3 hours. And I could look at it and say, that was a really good movie. But I think it's because the exchange, it felt to me like too much of that was tonight. If tonight was mixed into more of something else, it would have felt more like a movie that I could have, I guess, not just trying to understand it. Oh, we're not away from the CRM. Julia's like, thank God we're away from the CRM. It bores me. No, not even close to being away from the CRM. Okay, so let me ask you guys this question. All right. I need everybody. I need everybody here. All right, I got to get everybody's attention again. Give me 999s. I got to give you the kills example. Okay? These are going to be rapid fire questions and answers. All right. Did you cry when Abraham died? True or false? Okay. Did you cry when Carl died? True or false? Did you cry when the horse got eaten by the walkers? True or false? I'm trying to figure out why you guys cried tonight. It's like if Abraham getting beat to a pulp doesn't emotionally make you sad, and if Rick losing his son, why Rick is sad, you guys didn't even cry for Rick? Like, Carl's dead. So you didn't cry for Rick, but yet you cried tonight? Come on, y'all. Give me a break. Y'all just wanted to cry about something. All right. Last question. Is it possible that you stub your toe tonight during the episode and the tears were because of that, not because tonight was so sad? That's the last option I have for you guys. It's just a little possible. Or maybe you're chopping onion in the kitchen. One of those things might have happened simultaneously. Because I can think of moments in The Walking Dead that are like great moments of The Walking Dead that to me were kind of like tearjerkers. I might have gotten a little choked up with Carl. I mean, I don't ever remember crying in The Walking Dead, but, I might have got that little, lump in my throat and rub my eyes or something. Herschel? Okay. With the exception of tonight, can you tell me an episode of The Walking Dead that you remember crying about? Not tonight. Can't use tonight. Was there an episode when Negan saved dog? You know, maybe a little bit, Corey. Maybe a little bit. Vlar says Shiva. You know, I agree. I thought. Now I'm not gonna lie. Okay. When Shiva sacrificed herself to save Ezekiel, that was probably, that was a big deal. Beth, I would agree with that. I think Daryl carrying Beth. Now you can cry for a lot of different reasons. It's okay. People do all the time. But if there was a crying gauge, I can't believe tonight's dialogue is gonna be like, what does it take to cry? But yeah, I mean, you know, you can cry when you're happy, cry when you're sad, cry for anything. But if there was a scoring system for crying, and Shiva and Beth were on that scoring system, tonight would be very, very low on that scale. I wouldn't put that in the same category of the tears flowed. If Rick is suffering from a condition that they're just not going to cure in a couple episodes, that would be more emotional to me, right? Let's say Rick is just declining. They just tortured Rick, and he's not going to snap out of it after, you know, him and Michonne make out a few times, right? Let's say that this is a long-term condition, and they're gonna put the seriousness of PTSD on the Rick character. Yeah, that would be sad to me. But if we're going to use that as a prop to get him to snap out of it, then I'm not sad for it. I was probably, okay, let me ask you guys this question, because Rick was great acting. What was the most moving part of tonight? In all seriousness, no Roombas, nothing else. What do you think was the most emotional part of tonight's episode? See, and that's where I'm going to disagree, because Home and Decor says Kill's missing the point. You don't get it. But I do get it. Because to me, the most emotional part to me was Michonne in the hallway and the tear coming down Michonne's face when she thought that I'm not going to be able to reach him and I got to walk away. That to me was the most moving part. It wasn't Rick's acting. It wasn't Rick breaking down. I mean, and that's fine. If some of you guys think that it's Rick, he did a great job. Let's just, crown him actor of the year. He did a good job. But let's not minimize what Denai did. Because her scene, when that scene happened, she made that scene. It was Rick's hand on a doorknob. Okay, I'm going to go chase her. It was her face, her expressions, her emotion. I felt her emotion more than I felt Rick's speech. That's the point. So I'm not missing the point. I'm making a different point. That sometimes we all love Rick Grimes. We haven't seen him in a long time. I just do not think that his acting was so much better than hers tonight. I thought they were both really good. And I thought her scene in the hallway made that scene. And I will say this, and again, I'm not trying to pick it apart. And you guys, maybe you can do me a favor in this, okay? I thought Rick's character, and I'm going to nitpick for a second, okay? Just for a second. I thought Rick went out of character when he started talking about it, and he went from getting sad to not being enough in the character. When he was discussing that, that's why it didn't emotionally move me. If Rick would have went on a little bit more, and I'll look at the exact time of the episode, but it was when he was sitting there and he was talking, and it sounded like he was about to get sad, and then he just kind of changed. And I was like, he snapped out of that a little too quickly for my liking. I was starting to go down that road a little bit, and I'm sure you guys are talking about the totality of it and the bigger picture, because there are other parts that he nailed, but there was one part that I thought he was starting to get a little bit emotional, and then he just kind of went out of character a little bit and sped through it. Well, it's great acting if that was the intent. Yeah, I mean, but we don't know. And I guess that's the part of it, Westwood, that, and I kind of prefaced my opinion on that was, I don't know what the story of Rick Grimes is going to be. It did take Morgan a while. Truth, I'm trying to think of the exact moment, and I'll kind of circle back on it. I don't know, because I was watching it for the first time and kind of in the moment, and it wasn't when he cried. There was this one scene where he was starting to talk about it, and then he just, it might have been when he was talking, she was talking about RJ. It was right around that time. But it was a brief moment, and again, like I said, it's nitpicking. I'm curious now, but it was just like one part of it that seemed like it was a little bit out of character. But it happens all the time. I mean, I think he's phenomenal. He does what none of us can do. But I also think that I think Andrew and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and Norman get put on a different pedestal than Lauren, than Melissa, and Denai. And I don't like that. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I think that, we watch Negan and Maggie, and the way that is written, people hate Lauren Cohan, and she's an incredible actor, but she gets bashed more than, because people don't like her. But I could use your same point and say that's good acting, right? I mean, now Keels, what Rick does, that's wrong. What you did, that's right. I mean, she ain't even Southern. Neither is Andrew Lincoln. His accent's long gone. But I think she's incredible. I think Melissa is incredible. But I do think that the male actors get a little more love from our audience. They always have. And I'll give you this as an example. Tonight's episode. Yes or no, if you agree with this assessment. Most of Andrew's, think back, those of you that watched it 2 or 3 times, I got a serious question. Did you notice that when there was an emotional scene tonight, most of Andrew's scenes were from the side or the back? And when Denai had an emotional scene, they showed her bottom lip shaking, they showed her eyes, they showed her tears. Full facial view of her acting. You want to give an award to somebody, give her the award. Because she made those emotional scenes. A couple of them, they showed Rick's ear. I can hear his voice cracking. I want to see his face. When she's talking about RJ, her lip is shaking. Like she is there. Just saying. Doesn't mean that Andy is not amazing. He is incredible. But just watch it again. If you watched it 4 times, watch it a 5th time and notice how much they zoom in on her, especially the hallway. And I don't know, maybe just give her her fair share. That's all I'm asking. Just give her her fair share. They were both good. Good episode. It's true. All right. Now, I'm going to give you one example tonight. And if you didn't cry, you are not a Walking Dead fan. Here it is, everybody, before we do one last test. This is all right, one last 999. I'm going to give you guys the kill shot most moving, tear-jerking scene in the history of The Walking Dead. And I guarantee you're going to agree with me. When you think back on it, you are going to agree. I got it. Because you didn't name it. Everybody in this room got choked up when Rick and Daryl did the bro hug at Hilltop. Am I wrong? Y'all remember it. That was a moving, tear-jerking scene. Everybody did. I remember when we were streaming that, and everybody was like emotional. And tonight we're split down the middle. We wanted to be emotional tonight, but I'm gonna stay. I'm good with 8.6. But I legitimately had people all week long that had watched it saying, this is a 10, this is a 15, this is a 20. And so the bar was a little high, and I kind of like to stay away from the bar. Because, it's going to mean different things to different people. But you guys know I don't watch the shows in advance anymore, and I don't go through the spoilers. So I'm watching it kind of like in real time. So some of y'all have watched it multiple times, so you got me a little bit of a disadvantage. So, my streaming is very raw. It's going to be like, hey, I just saw it. This is what I think. This is how I feel about it. And, it's me in the moment. And, it's not going to be, we're all not going to agree on it. I understand that. I will say there's 2 more episodes, and one thing about The Walking Dead, typically, the episode before the finale is usually a big, big deal. So I don't know what's going to happen next week, but I'm going to say this. If there's 6 episodes, number 5 is usually the way to go. When there was 16, 15 was usually the big one. So I expect something big next week. Well, tonight is one of those things. I'm not going to try to talk anybody down from a 10. Normally, if there's a lot of action or things that, I'll be like, come on. Tonight, I get it. You were either moved by it or you weren't. But we found an hour. The most impressive thing about tonight is the lack of action, but we found an hour to talk about it. So there you go. Normally, I don't know. I mean, we did it. And time flies. So, well, yeah, there was action, so to speak, but not the action that we're used to. Couple things, and again, I started out the stream with an apology. We have been super, super busy, and by busy I mean 12, 14 hours a day. We're putting the finishing touches on our web portal, our games, our communication. Next Sunday night, we will stream, and I will give all of you guys the link. I'll invite you to sign up if you want to. Obviously, we play our game. We do some stuff on there. But there's going to be announcements. There'll be calendars. There'll be characters that you'll get to meet. And so if we do have a stream, or if we're going to cancel or something that happens, you'll be able to log in and see that right from the start. The hard thing with YouTube, there's no way for me to tell you guys if we're going to change the time or do something. And we do want to kind of get all of our Walking Dead fans back. If you guys don't know when we're on, when we're not on, it's very tough to get consistency, and the groups always look a little bit different. My hope is that starting next Sunday, we're back on a regular Walking Dead schedule. But we just have not had the time to do it. This portal is going to give us more time. It's going to give us more time to be more organized with our gaming and some other stuff that we're doing. So it is going to allow for us to do more content and streams like this. I love hanging out with you guys. So it's whether we agree, disagree, argue, fight, yell, scream, whatever, it's fun. And we're going to come back and do it all over again. It's good to have a place where you can go in and with people you like and have healthy debate. It's hard to find healthy debate. But Next Sunday night, we will be talking about The Walking Dead. And I'm going to say, hey, guys, go sign up for this so you can play our fishing game. If you want to play our fishing game, you want to mess around with our auction house, you want to do some gaming with us, that's all cool. But if you just want to be a part of The Walking Dead, there'll be a calendar on there, and you can hang out with us and get those updates as well. So thank you again. You guys do me one more favor. One last 999. I love it when you guys do that because I want to give shout outs to each and every one of you guys. Something we've always tried to do, whether there's 10 of us or 10,000, I try to get as many shout outs. So, Jesus, thank you so much. True Spoken, appreciate your feedback tonight. LF Home and Decor, thank you. Good Spirited Debate. Villar, Westwood, always a pleasure. Diana, Corey, Deadly Dimes. Harold, pleasure as always. Donnie T, always on the backup. Who else we got? So really, really appreciate you guys. And the more consistent we are, you're going to see a lot of those faces come back in. That long live Otis, better believe it. Busy B, good to see you. Marcia Cooper, thank you. Julia, thank you as well. Michigan gal in the house. Old school. I see some of the names, and not everybody can be on when we live stream. So a lot of our viewers go back and watch the playback, or they want to know when they can watch the playback. But you can definitely jump in anytime. And I will see. We're not going to do a stream during the week, so I'm not going to make a promise that we'll talk about on Thursday. But next Sunday night, you have my word. We will be here next Sunday night. So thanks again, everybody. And let's hope for a 10 next week. A real 10. Not a fake, I'm going to cry, tearjerker 10. Next week's going to be a real 10. You guys have a good night. I'll see you all next Sunday. Peace.